New developments in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie have emerged on multiple fronts this week as federal and local investigators continue one of the most closely watched missing persons cases in the United States. 24 days after the 84-year-old Tucson, Arizona resident was reported missing from her home in the Catalina Foothills neighborhood, investigators have received a new witness account, disclosed the current state of key forensic evidence, and confirmed details from surveillance footage that raise additional questions about what occurred in the early morning hours of February 1st. As of February 25, 2026, no suspects or persons of interest have been publicly identified. The investigation remains active, with both the Pima County Sheriff's Department and the Federal Bureau of Investigation continuing to coordinate on the case. Nancy Guthrie's family has announced a $1 million reward for information leading to her discovery. Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old mother of NBC Today show co-host Savannah Guthrie, was reported missing from her residence in the Catalina Foothills area, a quiet and relatively low-crime community located north of Tucson, in the early morning hours of February 1st. Authorities have characterized her disappearance as a suspected kidnapping. The exact circumstances of how and when she left the property remain part of the ongoing investigation. The Catalina Foothills neighborhood is an established residential community. Its character, largely private, owner-occupied homes set within the desert landscape north of Tucson, is relevant context for understanding why investigators and residents alike have been attentive to any unfamiliar activity in the area. In the weeks preceding Nancy Guthrie's disappearance, one of those residents is now speaking publicly. Aldine Meister, who has lived in the Catalina Foothills for 30 years, told Fox News Digital on February 25th that she observed an unfamiliar young man walking near an intersection close to Nancy Guthrie's home sometime between January 8th and approximately January 11th. Meister described the individual as younger in appearance, not dressed in typical walking attire, and with a hat pulled down over his eyes. She stated he appeared out of place in the neighborhood. According to Meister, she had not seen the individual before that day and has not seen him since. She noted the sighting to her husband at the time, but did not report it to law enforcement until after Nancy Guthrie went missing on February 1st. At that point, Meister contacted investigators and described what she had seen. However, she had no photographs or video footage to provide to detectives. Her existing home security cameras did not record any relevant material from the night of the disappearance. The date of January 11th is significant in the context of this investigation. According to reporting, authorities have referenced that specific date when canvassing and speaking with other residents of the neighborhood. Investigators have publicly urged residents to review their home security footage for any recordings made on January 11th in particular, as well as for any material captured between January 1st and February 2nd. The specific reason why January 11th is of investigative interest has not been publicly detailed by authorities. Meister acknowledged she could not confirm the exact date of her sighting with certainty, though she said she was confident it was after January 8th, when she had visitors staying at her home. Investigators are aware of her account. The sighting remains unverified in its connection to the case, and authorities have not publicly stated whether they consider it relevant to the events of February 1st. Separately, authorities have released additional details regarding the surveillance footage captured by a Nest doorbell camera at Nancy Guthrie's residence on the night of her disappearance. On February 10th, the Pima County Sheriff's Department made footage public showing an armed individual at Guthrie's front door. According to authorities, the individual in the footage was wearing a mask and gloves, carrying a backpack, and had a gun holster visible on their person. The individual was observed tampering with the doorbell camera. In a significant recent development, the Pima County Sheriff's Department has confirmed that the figure captured on the Nest camera may not have been walking alone. This confirmation raises the possibility that more than one individual was present at the property on the night of February 1st. Authorities have not provided additional specifics regarding this aspect of the footage at this time. Second image from the doorbell camera, which law enforcement sources say was taken on a different date from the primary footage, shows a masked individual at the doorstep without the backpack or the holstered firearm visible in the earlier recording. The significance of this second image and the date on which it was taken are aspects of the investigation that have not been fully addressed in public disclosures. On the forensic evidence front, investigators have confirmed the recovery of DNA material from inside Nancy Guthrie's home. However, Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos disclosed to NBC News that the genetic material presents serious analytical challenges. According to Sheriff Nanos, the DNA sample has been characterized by the forensic laboratory as a mixed sample. He stated that the lab has identified significant difficulties with the material and that processing the evidence could take, in his words, weeks, months, or maybe a year. To provide context on what a mixed DNA sample means in practice, independent forensic genetic genealogist C.C. Moore, chief genetic genealogist at Parabon Nanolabs, a laboratory that has worked with the forensic lab assisting the sheriff's office, though Moore herself is not part of this investigation, explained the core challenge to People magazine. According to Moore, the more individuals whose genetic material is present in a single sample, and particularly when those individuals are unknown, the more difficult it becomes to isolate any one profile from the mixture. She stated that the lab's reported difficulty with the sample indicates it is, in her assessment, a very difficult sample. Moore also offered her opinion that the material is less likely to represent a high-quality DNA source, such as a blood sample, based on publicly available information. That assessment is hers as an independent specialist and has not been confirmed by the investigating laboratory or by official sources in the case. Despite those challenges, Moore pointed to a potential investigative upside in the mere existence of DNA evidence at the scene. She noted that the individuals shown in the surveillance footage appeared to hold a flashlight in their mouth at one point during their time at the property. According to Moore, this type of action could result in saliva being transferred to surfaces within the home. She observed that spending approximately 40 minutes inside a location makes it extremely difficult to avoid leaving any genetic material behind, even when precautions such as gloves are taken. The presence of gloves in the surveillance footage is notable in this context. Investigators and forensic experts generally recognize that while personal protective measures can reduce the risk of leaving identifiable material at a scene, they do not eliminate that risk entirely, particularly during extended periods of activity inside an enclosed space. The duration of the individual's presence at the property, reported at approximately 40 minutes, is a factor that forensic specialists say increases the likelihood that some biological material was deposited regardless of precautions. The FBI's involvement in the case has been publicly visible. Agents have been observed conducting neighborhood canvassing operations in the Catalina Foothills area. Nancy Guthrie has been added to the FBI's 10 Most Wanted list, a designation that increases the national profile of the investigation and mobilizes federal resources. The FBI and the Pima County Sheriff's Department are operating jointly on the case. Nancy Guthrie's family has also taken a direct role in the public effort to locate her. Her 3 children, including Savannah Guthrie, have announced a $1 million reward for information leading to the discovery of their mother. The family has made public appeals for anyone with relevant information to come forward. The investigative focus on residential surveillance footage from the surrounding neighborhood reflects a broader strategy in cases of this nature. When physical evidence presents analytical challenges, video evidence from private and commercial security systems often becomes a primary avenue for constructing timelines and identifying individuals in the area prior to an incident. Authorities' specific interest in January 11th, combined with the canvassing of neighbors for footage from the full January 1st through February 2nd window, suggests investigators may be working to establish a pattern of surveillance or pre-incident activity in the neighborhood before the night of February 1st. As of February 25, 2026, the investigation into the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie remains open and active. No arrests have been made. No suspects or persons of interest have been publicly named. The DNA evidence recovered from the residence is undergoing laboratory analysis, with authorities cautioning the public that results may not be available for an extended period. The surveillance footage released on February 10th remains a central component of the public-facing investigation, and authorities continue to appeal to community members with any relevant information to contact the Pima County Sheriff's Department or the FBI. The $1 million reward offered by the Guthrie family remains available to anyone who can provide information that leads to the discovery of Nancy Guthrie. The case is being treated as a kidnapping investigation. Nancy Guthrie's current whereabouts and condition remain unknown.